is my gift. I asked parents to record it because my wife was up until 1 o'clock helping me with this. When I was young man, I remember in high school wondering, what am I going to study in college? And I thought through all, maybe English, maybe social studies, and I thought, that's too easy. What's the hardest thing there is, or the challenging, something that really pushed me? And I thought, and what I really enjoyed was astronomy. And I said, I'm going to be an astronomer. And after my associate degree, I went to the University of Arizona, and I studied astronomy. And that's just, to me, I see life as unwrapping things, opening new doors, but also finding out what's inside. And on the surface, when I was 20 years old, it was astronomy. I like the idea of being up all night, not having to talk to people. I'm a very quiet, shy guy. But I had this interesting experience when I was there. I had an encounter with God. And so I had to decide if I was going to stay with astronomy or do something else. And lo and behold, instead of becoming an astronomer, something else came. And I ended up being a missionary for 15 years. I know there's a theme here. I worked with street people in California. I lived in Christian communes. I traveled overseas. I worked in Central America. I did all these things, and it was a really great thing. In fact, one thing I found was it's not just enough sometimes to say, "Oh, I'm going to go be a missionary," because when you start doing that, you start unwrapping something new in your life, and then something else comes up. And after coming back from Central America, after a couple years, it turned out I was encouraged to write, and it turned out I could write. And these people say, "Oh, you're very good," and they recruited me as an editor with the publishing house, and I spent the next 10 years training writers and being an editor. And that was a wonderful thing, but I found out it wasn't my end. It wasn't where I belonged. I got burned out, and after 10 or 12 years, I said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. And it was time to leave, and I ended up going back home for a while, and I wanted to see what was next. And I got a call from my brother, who kind of like me has bounced around the world a lot, and he said, why don't you move back east with me, and we can make some money working in computers. So I worked in IT. I was an IT guy. I worked at Otis Elevator. I worked at General Electric. I did all that stuff and found that I really don't like working for corporate IT. But I was good at it. And the funny thing is, I soon ended up in New Jersey because I met somebody. And there was another layer. I found myself driving in New Jersey every weekend. Leave work and just hit the turnpike, go on down south. And, so we got married on the first epiphany of the new millennium, January 6, 2001. It was a very important day. And I ended up with a family. I have 2 stepdaughters, one of whom is a math teacher. I have 2 adopted daughters. My wife and I became foster parents, and we were foster parents for a while, and I have 2 girls. One is now in college and one's in high school. And I think it was a lot of that led to this, because IT just got to be the way IT is, and I ended up at a job working with Home Depot, and I needed something else. And I finally found that when you open all these things, and you're in the right place, and I knew I was in the right place with the family that I had found, that we had built, something new came, and it all kind of came together. And there it was. There was my astronomy. I had a place for it. There was there's that one. Missionary work that I did. There's writing that I did, the computer work I did. There's my family. And guess what? When you add it all together, it makes a whole. And there's the teaching. And everything I did is all part of this whole. And it all works together and makes something, a solid structure, and something I can give. Everywhere I go, I have something that I can pull out, that I can give, that I can share with. Whether it's from a different culture, different language, it just makes me a better teacher because of all these experiences.